Heather. Nice to meet you. I'm
Nice to
Laura.
meet you. Hi, Laura. Nice to meet you.
Welcome to BoomX Beauty Beat. I know we've been chatting a little bit online, and actually you're one of the first people to reach out to me when I was looking to work with some women entrepreneurs who are doing amazing things in the world. And when I saw your story and read it through, I'm like, oh yeah, she's got to come on the Boomx, and we got to talk a little bit about this whole situation. I just found you so relatable, and that's like one of the most important. It's so important to feel like you're talking to someone or with someone that is relatable, because there's so many people that kind of aren't. They're sort of like walls. It's like talking to a wall. And even your social media is infectious. It's like everyone's like, oh, something about you is just so happy and perky. It's kind of hard to believe the journey that you've been on, and now where you are now. And I think everybody wants to feel like you, that kind of happy, perky, obviously not perfect, but everybody's got things, but just, you got to glow and glow. And that comes from within, and there has to be a reason for it. And so we want whatever pill you're taking.
Yeah, wow, thank you so much. That was quite the introduction. I'm blushing. I'm probably going to go beat red here.
That's okay. But now we'll take you down. I'm just going to go right back down to the...
That's fine.
Okay. So what we'll do is just kind of, maybe if we can back up a little bit. I know that you were an Army grad. You mentioned that, and did a lot of moving around. I did it, but I had more of a gypsy spirit, but I did a lot of moving around, and it does really limit your ability to make deep connections with people.
Absolutely.
And connections are, and that's part of the reason I'm even doing this, is to stay connected. I mean, we're in a space right now where you can't even gather or do anything like that. So all we have right now sometimes is just doing it over Zoom or technology or whatever. But when you were moving back and forth, you learned how to connect quickly with people, but it's really hard to make those long-lasting, deep connections. And as you mentioned a little bit in your bio, that you found yourself in a lack of connection situation, and it got bad. It developed into really, really dark thoughts of depression, even suicidal thoughts. So trigger warning if anybody is, in that space. But I mean, I went there too. I had that after an injury, and I didn't even know I was capable of it. Sometimes it can hit you and you didn't even know that you could go there. And it can happen. And so I'm going to maybe let you just talk a little bit about that as best you can, because I think there are people out there feeling awfully sad and hopeless right now, and maybe you could explain that they're not alone. And
I mean, especially nowadays, depression and suicide is rampant. I mean, there's a lot of good that can come of the pandemic and the things that we're experiencing right now, but there's also a lot of really terrible things for a lot of people. And the reality of depression is it's not facing the emotions that are going on, and it's not having a safe place to talk about them, and it's not having the right tools to know that those thoughts and those feelings don't have to define you. And it's the reality of, when you need help, it's okay to ask for help. And there's such a big misconception in the world that if you need help mentally, that there's something wrong with you. Or that you're weak, especially for women as parents and things like that. Like, it's just, we always have to put our happy smiley face on, and it's really hard for people to admit when they're not well and they're not feeling okay. And I've spent a lot of time during COVID trying to get people to talk about it, because what often happens, and I mean, we all know this, when you have a big cry, when you just let the emotions out, how much better do you feel about it? So as much as we want to keep ourselves mainly okay, it's really important to face the emotions as they come up, because if you let them fester, they're gonna redevelop and re-show in ways that are not great.
No, absolutely. I didn't even mention, I got so excited introducing you, I didn't mention the name of your company. It's called Connecting to Bliss. And you do personal coaching. And which is different than a counselor, right?
Absolutely. Coaching is very different from a counselor.
Okay. How so?
Yeah, so what a coach does is a coach helps you look forward, whereas coaching and therapy often helps you deal with the past in regards to past traumas and emotions and things that have happened to you in the past. So they kind of take you back and really let you process and develop how you want to feel about what happened in the past. And so what a coach does is it looks at the past and how it's impacting you today, and then allows you to develop a plan and strategy and understanding the obstacles to help you move forward. So it's really about, a coach is there to help you get past it, move forward to your next step, and help you develop a plan to getting to the goals that you have, whatever that is. So I often say a coach is there to help you level up in life. So it's really, they're there just to help you move forward, where a coaching and counselor, like I said, is about focusing on the past.
Yeah. And for me, I was briefly explaining when we first turned on the video, is that people are going to get so sick of hearing me say I have bipolar disorder, but since I'm talking to somebody who deals with, mental health challenges, or has dealt with them, you could just think you just don't have that, and it can hit you at any point in life. And I think right now it could be happening, and if it's happening to everyone and you're feeling especially bad, sometimes you have guilt about that, even because you get this feeling like, well, everyone's going through this, everyone's still functioning, how come I'm not functioning like everyone else is going, putting their stupid mask on and going to the stupid grocery store and, blah, blah, blah. And I just feel like I'm in the fetal position and I can't breathe. Like, kind of like that. What is and what does the future hold? And how do you still have hope? And I mean, how do you even coach people on when you don't even know what the future is going to be? It's kind of scary, right?
I think the reality of coaching, especially now, is giving people the control back of the things that they have control over. There's a lot of things right now we can't control, and that's crippling to a lot of people. And so what I really try and do, especially now when I'm helping people, is understand their circle of influence. What can they actually impact during their day? Are they continuing to do the things that help them feel worse, or are they continuing to do the things that help them feel better? And whether or not it's in the circle of your environment, there are things that you can do on a daily basis that don't hinder the situation and that actually help you feel better in a situation, whether it be self-care at home, taking a bath, doing things that help you. And that's probably the hardest thing for a lot of people, is they don't know what helps them. They don't have the awareness of the self-care that actually fills their cup. And so I help them discover those ways that are actually going to feel good in the space that they're in. We can't control COVID. We have no idea when it's gonna end. But the other reality that I really try and help people understand is nothing lasts forever. Nothing. So one day COVID will end. I don't know when that will be, but if we just keep understanding that impermanence is inevitable, this will go away eventually. It does tend to help people understand, okay, so I just have to get through today, and then we'll see what happens tomorrow, and continue to do the things that help fill your cup in the environment that you have control over.
Yeah. And when you went through depression, suicidal, and you went through another bout after you had a baby, right?
Yeah.
And so when you went through that, what was that like for you? What was that feeling like, and how did you get it? How did you switch off of that?
Yeah, so my first bout of depression and suicidal thoughts were when I was a teenager. So it was very different in that sense. I didn't have the right tools. I didn't have the right awareness. I wasn't mature enough to deal with that, but I ended up finding the help that I needed. And since then, I know that I've been hyper aware of depression and suicidal thoughts. Like, it was like this thing that I was like, no, that's never going to happen to me again, because it was such a horrible experience. And then I had my daughter I was an older mom when I had her, and I went back to work, and I had a long time to kind of develop this idea on what I thought motherhood was going to be, and it wasn't.
No, wait a minute. First of all, back up to the older mom stuff. What? Like, you look like you're 24.
No, I was 37 when I had her. I'm 42 now.
Shut the front door. I'm having my own little mini heart attack. Holy cow.
It's just
Okay.
the chubby cheeks. It's just the chubby cheeks.
Whoa.
But I had had a really, really solid idea on what motherhood was going to be like. And then when it actually happened and when I had her, it was completely different. And then when I went back to work, that is when things started to get real. It was very, very apparent, probably about 6 to 7 months after returning back to work full time, that something had to give. I was staring down the barrel of depression again.
Yeah.
And I found myself super reactive to my daughter, to my husband, to my coworkers, to my friends. Like I just wasn't me. I had lost all kind of, I just didn't know who I was anymore. And I
Yeah.
found myself grieving. And that's another thing that I really want to help moms and dads especially understand is I was grieving my old self because I felt like I couldn't have her anymore. She was completely gone. I was always really social. I was always really fun and light and goofy. And I was always doing silly jokes and things like that. And I felt like that perception of who I needed to be as a mom was completely opposite to who I was before. So I was like, well,
Yeah.
who am I now? If I'm not that person, who am I? So I was just really attaching myself to the idea that I had to be a mom all the time. And that was just completely wrong. So anyway, I digress. I was staring down the barrel of this like depression coming at me full hardcore. I was spending 3 hours a day commuting. I was paying someone to spend 90% more time with my daughter than I was getting. I didn't have any time for myself. I didn't have any time with my husband, my family, from my friends all disappeared because they didn't have kids. So I was just like, I remember the day I was in my car and my car was often the place that I was most, in a bad space because I was stuck in traffic and I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I broke and I completely had a meltdown in the car, and I pulled over the car and I cried in the car for probably over an hour. I was so just broken inside because it was like, is this it? Is this what life is about? Is this how motherhood is? And I stopped and I said, no, this is not how it's meant to be. I need to be better for myself so I can be better for my daughter and my family.
Yeah.
She deserved a mom that was willing to go the extra mile and do the learning and do the hard work to help me be better so she can have a good role model to look up to. And that's what started.
I sure wish I had your services when I felt two words. When I think of my, first of all, I have very little memory of the kid's childhood. It was so stressful.
Right.
And so I felt isolated and trapped.
Absolutely.
But I was completely in love with my children, but completely isolated and completely trapped. And I just didn't feel like I fit in because other mothers seem like they had it way more together than I did. And I had nothing to turn to. Where was the internet back then? But boy, could I have used some help like what you're talking about, what you're offering. So how did you get this turned around? What did you do?
Yeah, so I started small, and that's the important thing. When you are feeling overwhelmed and you are feeling like I have no control over everything, all you need to do is start small. Small changes can lead to really, really big impacts. And so I started claiming back the time that I could in order to help myself develop and grow and discover who I was now. Sorry, my voice is keep going crazy.
Do you need a water or something?
Yeah, I'll just have a quick sip.
Let's have a cocktail of water.
Yeah, so I started claiming back time that I knew I could do some self-development. And for me, it was about that commute. That commute was like the catalyst for me, because instead of listening to the radio and listening to music and listening to the traffic reports and things like that, I started doing learning. I started listening to podcasts and I started listening to audiobooks, and it catapulted me down this self-development, and I started craving it at all moments. Like I was a sponge, and it was what I needed in the moment. It was absolutely what I needed. Yeah. And I started listening to some really insightful, amazing podcasts and audiobooks. And once I got that down, once I got that pattern and I got that learned behavior of, as soon as I get in the car, I just throw my iPod, my podcast and my Audible, I started realizing that I could reflect on other times that I was, quote unquote, wasting my time doing things that weren't filling my cup. So instead of sitting in front of the TV watching mindless television, I would do something to help me fill my cup. And those are the moments that I did have. The reality of most of my life is that I couldn't change any of it. I had to commute to work. I had to work 8 hours a day. I had to look after my daughter when I got home. But there were small little moments that I could claim back for me and help me be better for myself. So that's what I started doing. And then it just kind of catapulted into this life of balance in between the chaos.
Yeah. Wow. It's almost like a mastery. You have to master your life in a way.
Absolutely. It is. And what I realized is that being a busy parent, you have to be very deliberate, because if you're not deliberate, the subconscious mind and the stories that we end up telling ourselves about not being good enough and not being worthy end up taking over, and we continue to do behavior that's not good for us, like zoning out on TV or scrolling through our phone on watching mindless things, that type of thing. So you have to be very deliberate. You have to be committed to it, but you also have to have loving kindness for yourself, that if something does happen and you end up not being able to do the things that you really want to do, it's okay. Just pick it up next time. It's okay. It's okay.
And I think a lot of times we let people in our lives, or we keep people in our lives that maybe are toxic or not great for us, but we don't think we deserve better or can't think that through properly because our heads aren't screwed on straight. And, you know, we can't even realize what is not going the way that it should be going and can't suss that out. That's where I think a coach can really help, because, you know, to kind of break down what's not good, what do you have to get rid of, what's got to be tossed, what can be kept. Somewhere along the way, you were certified through Jay Shetty? Certified
Shetty,
coach. Yes. I don't know anything about Jay Shetty or that program or anything.
Amazing.
Is that an inspirational person, or?
Yeah, he's a life coach as well, but he's I don't think he even does much coaching anymore. He's a motivational speaker. He spent 3 years as a monk in India. And now he has this he's got such a big impact in the self-help kind of world. He just released his book in September. He's got podcasts. He's got his Instagram, like his social media is amazing. He's got this program called the Genius Program, where it's basically a life coach subscription that he does. But anyway, I watched him for many years, and I listened to him for many years, and then he released his school to become a coach. So I was super excited to be part of that and to be one of his graduates.
So you've been listening to him, and then you're thinking to yourself one day, I could do that. I could do
well, to be honest, no.
Okay.
I didn't know I wanted to be a life coach until it was last year, 2019. I worked for a travel company as a recruiter and HR trainer. And we did a conference last year, and as a trainer, I developed most of the content. And a lot of times when you train, especially in that industry, it's a lot of like technology and systems and things like that. And I kind of switched gears, and I did a lot of education and developing and helping them understand self-development and understanding their worth and understanding like what things that they had the power over, just like I was talking about. And I left there feeling so inspired, because I watched all of them be like, wow, this is amazing. And I was like, okay, I need to have more of this in my life. I need to have more. I didn't know what it was called at the time. I didn't know it was called a life coach. And then I talked to a friend of mine who was a life coach, and I was like, well, this is what I'm thinking. And he's like, yeah, it's a life coach. That's what you need to do. And I was like, oh, okay.
You got fed back that energy that, wow, I'm able to help others transform. And that just kind of was like the light bulb, and you're like, whoa, maybe I can do this. And so how's that journey been, becoming a life coach and dealing with clients, and what's that like?
It's amazing. I absolutely am in love with it, because all I ever wanted to do was help people and make an impact. That's always been my purpose. And so now I'm able to do that on a daily basis. So the journey to become a life coach was amazing, because not only am I learning how to help people, but I'm also dealing with my own stuff. they kind of make they make you face it, because in order for you to be better for other people, you need to be good on your own.
It's a sneaky way to stay on top of yourself.
Yes,
right?
yes. And you had people holding you accountable and challenging you. And so it was really, really good. And I am so pumped waking up in the morning, knowing that I get to help people and just have conversations like what we're having right now.
For sure.
And get to know them and get to understand what makes them tick and how we can help them feel even better.
Yeah. So when you look at your clients and you see that they actually hire you, engage with you, do you see what they are basically? I had a question here. See if I'm saying it in a roundabout way. Like, why do people need a personal coach rather than doing it themselves? In other words, like, which types of people end up being your clients? Is there any certain type, or is it just about anybody? Or what questions should you ask yourself to say, maybe this is what I should engage in now? Maybe I should look at this.
Someone who needs a life coach is someone who's ready to take the next steps and feels stuck, isn't able to do it on their own. The reality is that sometimes people are self-motivated, but a lot of times most people have obstacles in their lives that they're not even aware of. And so what a life coach does is they ask a lot of questions, and they help you uncover the obstacles that are in your way that you may not even understand and know that are there. And they help you come up with your plan to get around those obstacles, as well as keep you accountable. There's a lot of growth work when it comes to life coaching as well. So you're really discovering who you are as a person. And a life coach asks the tough questions that you can't ask yourself because they're uncomfortable. But what a life coach does is they provide the safe space for you to really think about and reflect on those tough questions.
Yeah. Ooh. So the journey with you, it's not like a few sessions. It's like you've got a coach that's going to be kind of ongoing. Is that sort of the idea?
Yeah. Especially if there's something that you're really working towards or want to get past. Absolutely. It's not something you can't have a coach for a couple sessions and have your life turn around. It's a long-term investment, but a coach is also your biggest cheerleader. So they're the ones that are always going to cheer you on, and they're going to be there to support you and to be that person for you, to help guide you to the life that you really want.
So I think a lot of people out there think that sounds great, but I probably can't afford it. I mean, how expensive is it? Do you have to have a certain amount of, wealth, or is it something that can be possibly affordable by the average person? Or I have no idea.
Yeah, of course. So there's a couple different ways of getting coached. So you can do one-on-one coaching, and it's not astronomical, the pricing, but you also have to think of it as an investment in yourself. So when was the last time you invested in yourself? And that's a question that I ask a lot of people. And it's just like taking a course. It's just like all those other great things that you can do for yourself. That's what hiring a coach is for. So you can have one-on-one coaching. It is a bit more expensive, but it's an investment in yourself. But there are opportunities to do group coaching as well, which are far more attainable for everyone. So you would hop on right now, obviously, a call with a group of people, and you kind of it's a group environment in the sense of like you're sharing. It can be a bit vulnerable, especially because you're often with people that you don't really know. But it's creating that safe space for people to talk, so you can get the same impact and effect on a group coaching as you can on a one-on-one.
And it's kind of neat to see people see their journeys. I find people so interesting. Do you ever see them connect as friends, or is that not allowed, or how does that work?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially if they have similar experiences and they really connect with, oh my gosh, I totally feel the same way. Yeah, totally.
So what's the average length of a session, or is it like an hour, or how does that work?
Generally speaking, it's an hour. Okay. I just had one yesterday that was 2 hours. We probably could have talked all day. It depends. It depends on someone's journey. Like it is that person's journey, and I'm just there to help facilitate and guide them through it. So if they feel like they need more time, then that's fine too.
And is there a consultation first, or what happens?
Yeah, so I always have what's called a discovery call first, and that's just to find out if our personalities mesh, because I can't not everyone's going to click with me, and I may not click with them. And I also want to get an understanding of what their struggles are and make sure that we both feel good about continuing on the relationship. And I really just want to kind of get a sense of that person and see how committed they are to making the changes. Because that's the most uncomfortable part about a coach, is that I'm going to challenge everyone to make the changes that they know they need to in order to move forward.
Yeah, it is. It's, you know, I'm a person that I can kind of make decisions quickly and make changes sort of fairly quickly. But I was just trying to get him to commit to a date day a week, like, and he's kind of cheap on the, you know. And so I was like, he's no problem with the walk, but I'm like, but I'd like to go for a coffee and maybe a snack after, so that we can engage with each other and talk and watch and whatever. And literally he was stewing on it all night long, thinking, this is going to cost a lot. Do I really have to? But it's a investment in the relationship to keep it alive. And it takes effort. It takes work. It's not just going to be there for you. Would you rather me not pay half the bills and be gone, and then that'll really cost you money? But anyway, what I'm saying is, like, it takes effort in everything that's going to be a positive change and work. And and definitely it's easy to slide off that. So I can so see how a life coach can, like, keep you there. You're not going to be sliding too far. You're not really going to let that happen. So that's brilliant. Now you've got lots of socials. You've got your website. You've got everything going. You're going to make sure I have everything to give. I think I've got everything, but your Instagram's brilliant. So I want to make sure I've got that as well. At the very least, follow her Instagram, because it's adorable. So
thank you.
For sure. Even if this isn't something for you, follow her Instagram. And I'll link everything below. And what am I missing? And am I missing anything, Heather, to cover?
No, I think the other thing that I'd like to explain is why I call my business Connecting to Bliss. So Bliss for me was a work that I started in my car that day when I broke down crying. And what Bliss is for me, and how I explain it, is everyone has their, I'll show my hands here. Everyone has their baseline of emotions, and the ups and downs happen based on that baseline of emotions. And so that baseline of emotions is a culmination of everything that's happened in your life. So all of the negatives, all the positives, everything like that. And you kind of get this comfortable spot. And what Bliss is for me is about raising that to a higher level. So everyday moments when you're just making dinner, doing your thing, you're at a higher baseline. So your emotions are at a higher level. Your frequency is higher. And so what happens is, once you raise that baseline to a higher state, the highs happen more often because you're able to recognize them more often in the everyday things. How beautiful the sunset is, how amazing your kids are. You live in a space of more gratitude and joy. So the highs happen more often. And what also happens is, when the lows happen, because they inevitably will, you have the right tools to get you back to that bliss baseline quicker and faster.
Doesn't that sound like a better way to live?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So that's why I call it Connecting to Bliss, because I really want to get people to that higher baseline, so they're able to and have the tools to get back to that even state in a faster manner, but they have more ups because they're able to recognize the beauty and the amazingness of the life that they have, regardless of going on.
On a vibrational level, and this is a little woohoo, but on a vibration,
it's totally true. Absolutely.
Doesn't it attract a little bit of something better when you're way over here than if you're bottom down here? Yes.
When you're in a state of gratitude and joy, your vibration is higher, and like attracts like. So you're going to attract more good, because good is a higher frequency than when you're down here, which is a lower frequency. And when you're down there, you're going to attract more of that down there stuff. So yeah, it's absolutely.
So even in COVID, even in all this stuff, it could be the best time of your life right now. It doesn't have to be the worst. For sure. Yeah. The reality of it is that yes, parts of it are going to be hard, and that's reality. Even if COVID wasn't here, there'd be things that are happening in our lives that aren't great. But what has to happen for everyone now is they have to stop focusing on what they can't control. Stop looking at the numbers.
Stop looking at the news.
No more news. I saw
Stop focusing on what you can't do and focus more on what you can do.
Right. That sounds such good advice.
Oh,
Ah!
and do the things that help you feel good. So keep doing those things that fill your cup, whether it be reading, writing, bath time, doing your nails, doing your makeup, like you were saying. You know what I
Makeup.
mean?
That's my therapy.
I always say at least once a week, put on your cutest outfit. Like just do it. Just even if you don't leave your house, our energy changes when we feel good about ourselves. So if we're just slouching around in our pajamas all the time, how terrible do we feel?
Oh,
So
yeah. And then, like, even just when I have the chance to connect with you, knowing just from watching your videos and watching your spirit, I'm like, it designed my look for the day. I'm like, it's pink, it's happy, it's, like the colors of your personality. And that just made me in a good mood, just thinking about meeting up with you and knowing it was going to be such a warm and lovely experience. And it changed my mood just by doing that. And so it can, yeah.
Yay.
So, well, thank you so much. I'll let you go. I know you're busy. It's your weekend too. We're kind of doing this on the weekend.
Yeah, my daughter's losing her mind out there. So.
Oh, how old is she now?
She's 5.
Oh my gosh, adorable. That's my favorite age. 5 and 6 in that age. Oh,
yeah, she's full of energy.
Well, you got all good things to teach her whole life through now that you've done all this work.
Yeah,
so
well, thank you.
Yeah, we're saying thank you at the same time. Thank you so much, Heather. And I hope we can connect again.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do, anything you think of, just make sure you reach out to me if you have a little brainstorm or whatever.
Yeah.
But please comment below, guys. And thank you so much for coming on BoomX.
Thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate your time.
Okay, we'll talk to you later. See ya. Bye.